Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to another scene for the living world of darkness, Rage Across New York. Now, 10 Point has been about her normal activities for the evening, just tending to her own stuff, probably hanging about the cabin waiting for Aiden to come back around, and has been hit very abruptly by an almost panicked demand from Dallas that she go to Haraya and tend to him, insisting that she do it now with a kind of urgency that can only be really conveyed truly through the flush of emotion that comes with the words in the pack link. And as such, 10 Point has gone from puzzled confusion to a veritable bolt through the sept as she goes hunting, feeling after Aiden's portion of the link, keying in, and keeping her eyes alternatively on the current side and on the far side of the gauntlet. So as the scene begins, wherever Aiden has managed to stumble to, 10 Point will be lunging her way through the gauntlet with arms open, as though to
And,
catch him up.
and she will see coming over like the Umbra Ball of the Sept, limping. She will see blood literally streaming down his hands, like dripping. Aiden, he looks shaggy. His eyes are bloodshot red. Very much like he falls to his knees at one point, but gets back up slowly. He just looks like absolute shit.
And it breaks her heart. Yeah, she comes running full sprint, literally leaping through the gauntlet as she comes close to come to catch him up, arms out, to bring him back to his feet on his next stumble. She's just suddenly there.
And he is barely walking. Because he didn't heal his battle wounds, so technically he's on 6 levels of lethal.
And so she catches him up, and upon realizing how grievous the injuries are, especially compounded, she seamlessly, as she begins to scoop an arm around him, reverts to breed.
She will feel a weak push against her, but she'll feel that firmness of himself in the pack link, and he'll look at her dead in the face. I can walk.
And she hesitates, probably midway through the gesture, and very gingerly, she'll respect his wishes and begin to loosen up on the arm so that she's not taking him completely off his feet. All the same, she lurches down alongside him, blatantly offering a shoulder.
It's very slow. It's very deliberate. Like he falls to his knees a couple of times, but growls in pain, but he keeps going. Determination to get where the umbral side of the cabin is.
And she just creeps alongside him, probably periodically hooking out an arm. Not to keep him from moving, but rather just to halt his descent towards the ground until he gets his feet under him again. Just to keep him from hitting the dirt.
And eventually he will reach to the umbral reflection of the cabin. He'll just look at himself, you can tell he's almost trying to muster himself the will to cross over.
I'll take you across, Raya.
I can do it myself.
Please let me do this for you, Raya. I know you can.
Fine. Heal part of it. Don't heal all of it. Don't you dare heal all of it.
And let me find a place for us to be rolling, because I feel like that's going to happen in this scene.
Extra dice roller 2, I think. Extra dice roller 1, I think, is free. I'm not sure. Yeah, 1 is free.
And she actually was more referring to the fact that she can at least pull him across the gauntlet.
If you need to heal some of it, heal it already. But don't you dare heal all of it.
Yes, right. And yeah, she, how much oomph does he have right now?
How much what?
Like, she's trying to figure out. I'm trying to judge how much rage he has, but I guess in the end, I'm spending a gnosis either way, and this guarantees the
He's
spend.
rage. I think he's rage 2. Yeah, he's rage 2. He's on his
Yeah.
normal.
I am just going to go with the Gaia's Breath because it guarantees that I only heal 4. So she will spend. And she will draw the little clay pot out and raise it over his head and crush it.
Yeah, and he does stand a little straighter. There are some very nasty wounds on his arm still. But he does seem to be walking straighter, moving quicker. Now you can take me over.
Yes, Raya. I'm actually fairly low right now. That's still enough.
Whew.
It's a bit slower than normal. In fact, it's distinctly slower than normal. She has spent a good bit. But nonetheless, she slides across and pulls him along with her so that he's standing at the base of the porch.
And once he does, he hits the dirt, hits the end of the wood tables. You know.
He's just going to try to collapse again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hovering 10 point is hovering. He goes and just goes slack, and she's going to scoop him up again. She refuses to let him hit the ground.
Again, you feel that weak. Still, like, yes, he's healed, but you have 10 point can feel he just seems mentally broken. You feel that weak kind of tapping against her fur. I can make it. Don't you dare carry me onto that fucking porch. You understand me, Metas?
And she bows her head, and again, very gingerly just deposits him back on his feet, making sure that he is upright before letting go.
Yeah, and eventually he weakly plops down takes the steps up. Each step looks more agonizing than the next, and eventually he sits himself down in the chair. And yeah, he looks weak, exhausted. Mentally, he's a mess. His walls are up, but they're kind of up and aren't up. You know, with a good solid push, 10 point realized she could bring the whole thing tumbling down.
And she slinks up in his wake, very purposefully. Like she keeps close enough, just in case he drops again. But once he's gotten into the chair, she settles, much like she does in Lupus, right at his feet. Though in this case, she sets her muzzle instead of on the ground. She's more than big enough to set it on the arm of the chair.
He takes long breaths. I made it.
course you did, Raya.
Yeah. You just look down. She's out there, barely able to stand. Alice is out there, looking at her. And what can I do?
I'm sorry, Raya.
And he'll just look down. I've given everything, 10 point. Everything I am, and I still... It's never enough.
You have given more than your share, Raya. You've given everything that's been asked.
Yeah. It doesn't matter anymore anyway.
There's a slight narrowing of the eyes, a slight slick of the ears. She's probably just got like the buds of antlers growing again. She doesn't have the full spread. Raya, we know what you've sacrificed. You said you would do anything for family, and you have.
Yeah, well... There you go. Everyone else gets their fucking happy ending.
The goal was never a happy ending, Raya.
Yeah, of course it wasn't. Because why would anyone want that for me?
Raya, if I could give you this. If it was within my power to give you this, I would.
It doesn't matter.
It does matter, Raya.
Clearly it doesn't, 10 point. Everyone brings me around and expects me to be this nice guy and have all these things. And what do I have? Nothing.
You have a family, Raya.
Family, if they knew exactly what I was doing, they would disown me in this heartbeat.
They would do no such thing, Raya.
You know they would at some point.
She huffs out just a warm breath. I have done so much worse, Raya, and I am still here.
Like I said, the fact that I'll never have the one thing I've wanted. Everyone expects me to be this strong person. And I can't even stand to look at my feelings.
We would not have asked if we'd known, Raya.
And I could hardly tell you I'm married. Just stop and look down. People will say I never took responsibility or made a decision till it was taken from me. But what would you do if your whole life was built on a tribe and you found the one person you fell for and she was everything that you weren't from a completely different world?
And she finally lowers her big golden eyes. I don't know, Raya. I probably never will.
Then why are you trying to try empathize with me when you have no concept of how I'm feeling?
Do you think that because I will never find a mate, I do not know how to love, Raya?
I don't know what you made us think.
And she's been curtained off ever since she did the last thing he asked of her. But she casts it wide and bleeds openly into the pack link.
Willpower. I'll put this at diff 8. Come on, Discord.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, just
4.
openly bleeds the care and the pain of seeing him like that. Holy shit, that roll.
He
Should have set it
maintains
for
it.
9. Shit.
He holds himself together.
And yeah, she can't even look at him while she's doing it. She keeps her big head set on the armrest and drops her gaze and just bleeds it.
Dallas may think I'm cruel, right, for going at her the way I am. But the same thing will happen to her. What's happened to me? Do you think I want another person to go through that?
I know you don't, Raya.
But I'm cruel and And do you not think it's fucking hard?
She does not understand, Raya. She has not been here with you. She has not seen the pain you've suffered. She can't possibly understand.
Just nod. They're all out there now having a great time. Wonderful, great time. That Metis is doing her Adrian challenge. Everyone's out having a great time. And here's me. Aiden fucking Lynch.
And unlike the rest of them, Raya, you know your role and you keep your promises. And she's not recurtaning, by the way. She's just going to consistently bleed.
And he just lies there. Get me a drink, 10 point and a knife.
Yes, Raya. And she rouses herself up. And she'll even pause a moment, shaking her way back down to Hamid before she moves to the door into the cabin. And she will obediently reemerge, offering first an already open bottle of beer. She's probably popped the cap as soon as she pulled it out of the fridge. And producing from her swag, actually. What I think Vinny told me was a hunting knife? I'm not sure. But yeah, produces a knife from her own belongings, offering it hilted out to him.
He'll take the drink, take a long swig of it, and when after he puts the drink on the table, he'll get the knife and will inflict a point of lethal on himself. Cutting the hand deep and pressing his fingers down in it, so he almost like he's trying to feel.
And he may
Roll
be
this
going.
rate. I'll roll his willpower just to see how well he's, visibly trying to show he's fine. It's like whatever. Jesus.
Faking it like a champ. And while
He just closes his eyes, and presses down, and he just seems to open his eyes again.
And he succeeds in his quest for physical pain, and with 10 point openly bleeding it, yeah, he'll feel a shock of emotional pain in accompaniment. Though she will sit docile, probably kneeling right in front of him, like she do.
It stops that guilt. 10 point.
It shouldn't be you, Raya.
It has to be me.
You've given enough, Raya.
That's never enough.
It's more than enough.
He smiles sadly. It's not. Because at the end of the day, if this was the roles reversed, this was Dallas hurting herself like this, I'd be there in a heartbeat. You're here. He just nods to himself. But this is my burden. And she just reminded me of how much a failure I am.
You haven't failed, Raya. You haven't failed any of us. You haven't failed your totem. You haven't failed your tribe. You haven't failed your family.
You didn't see it, 10 Point.
Then show me, Raya.
Yeah, he'll show you a visual image of Darcy trying her best to sit down and nearly crying in pain, trying to hide it.
And her lips firm into a line. And I imagine a bunch of emotional baggage comes with the image.
Imagine being hit by a sledgehammer, and that sledgehammer is despair, sadness, and pure defeat.
Oh shit. Rock on the willpower too. She does not immediately start shedding tears. But she certainly looks shaken. Raya,
What?
just as you are choosing to harm yourself, she is choosing to do what she is doing.
Ooh. Let's see how mad he is when he takes a rage. Okay, not as mad, but yeah, the eyes will flare up. Do you know why she's out there?
I can't know her mind, Raya.
Because I am not there. And the one way she copes is to go out and being loud because she can't stand the quiet because I'm not there. And she's out there. And I get the impression she's looking to see him if I'm there, if I'm around there. And she can't find me.
She grows somber. The eyes drop again, especially with his flaring. What would you have me do, Raya?
Nothing, 10 point. Absolutely nothing, because there's nothing that can be done.
Raya, please.
What?
And she will slowly reach out. And she won't try to take it, but she will set her hand lightly on top of the one that's holding the blade.
What do you want, 10 point?
Bleeding yourself won't help her.
Nothing I can do now will help her, 10 point. Not anymore. Dallas just reminded me of that when I saw her.
You don't have to torture yourself any more than you are already, Raya.
The things we do for love, 10 point. And the things we do for the love of our tribe, the love of everything we have, and for love of the things that we'll never have again. I'm beginning to understand why Garrett left this place.
And yet we stay.
We all have our jobs to do, 10 point. This is the way I keep myself calm so I can do mine.
And she retracts her hand, sets it back in her lap. Then do you no longer need my services, Raya?
Not for this.
My service isn't conditional, Raya.
This is my burden, 10 point. Not even your unconditional loyalty can carry it for me.
A burden shared is a burden lightened, Raya.
Not this time.
And she sits back a little farther onto her heels, thinking, hurting, still bleeding. How are those walls of his doing?
Barely there. You know.
And so she...
You reckon with one solid push you could break him down? Like one big push.
And he won't see her attention shift, but he may feel it.
To be honest, he just gets up and goes get another drink. The knife kind of clunks to the floor like blood billowing along the floor, the cabin floor.
She reclaims the knife immediately, wipes it, sheaths it, and it goes back into her swag. And, yeah, he can get up and he can walk away, but he can't walk away from the pack link.
You guys at the shrine?
No, we are back at the cabin. He's just walked inside. 10 point is standing, well, actually kneeling still, right in front of the seat he usually occupies, with her head turned to the door. And she is gathering what force of will she has.
Dallas will she's jogging up to the she's running up to the cabin at this point. At this point her hair is even still for the most part wet, and she will sort of stop and look down at 10 point. Where is he?
Inside. Is he lingering in the kitchen, by the way?
Yeah, looks like he's like trying to discern what alcohol he's trying to get. Both of you can plainly see blood dripping down his hand onto the floor as well as he's reaching in.
She'll rouse up, in fact, and we'll hold the door open for Dallas.
Dallas will make her way in, and she'll just look at Aiden.
10 point will slip in, slip over to him, take another drink out of the fridge, pop the cap and offer it, because this is obviously too much to debate on, and let's be honest, he doesn't need anything worse than beer right now.
He does. Takes it shakily, probably hissing because that's the wrong hand, so he takes it with a stronger one.
Dallas will sort of look Aiden up and down.
He looks a mess. Shot hair is shaggy. There's blood dripping out down in both his arms, actually.
Dallas will kind of reach up and just kind of touch him on the cheek.
Kind of doesn't really respond to it. He just lifts up the bottle and just the alcohol goes down his throat.
And she's just... It's going to be tentative, but she'll try and hug Aiden.
I mean, yeah, you hug him, but he just feels very numb. He doesn't hug you back. He just takes 10 point. Just sees him with his blank kind of expression on his face, taking a drink.
And Dallas will get essentially a direct message that says simply, Raya, lead him to a seat. I'm going to do something unwise. Please.
Dallas will just kind of. She grits her teeth or grinds her teeth, but she'll kind of start to lead Aiden if he's able to be led over to the couch.
Yeah, to be honest, he kind of half falls on it when you lead him as well. So he kind of just plonks down, spilling some of the alcohol on his knees. But he takes another drink as he's kind of sitting there, quite numbed.
Dallas will grab one of the dish towels on the way over and wrap up the arm that is bleeding more so than the other.
Yeah, you can tell the wound on his right arm is literally fresh.
Yeah, she'll wrap that up.
And there will be signs of various injuries that are, various slashes that are most of the way shut, but he was not allowing a full healing, so there's sign that there was more. There's sign that it has been in part healed, but not fully. And 10 Point is just going to come over and kneel in front of him again. And she'll look up. Raya. See if he can even focus.
She'll get a blank answer after about 2 minutes of silence. Yeah.
I'm sorry. And she pushes.
Oh, let's see. Willpower roll, difficulty 10. Let's see if he can push.
And for Dallas's sake, the pack link has been what it has been, but 10 Point has been openly bleeding out the bald honesty of how deeply she cares about Aiden and how much it's hurting her to see him in the state he's in, to see him cutting himself. You put a period in front of it.
In front of it. Oh, I was wondering. I was like, no, Discord, why?
It wasn't working. Wasn't working a little bit earlier when.
Yeah, so I got a bit paranoid.
Yep, you typoed.
Oh, why am I typing in the wrong scene? Whoop, wrong scene.
Don't do that.
Yeah, I was like, oh. And here we go.
Not even close.
Yeah, that's a fail. Yeah, I mean, it all comes tumbling down.
And as soon as she feels it give, she will lunge up, not straight into him because Dallas is on the one side. But yeah, she lunges up onto the couch to kind of catch him up, to make sure he doesn't just fall.
No, he just sits there, head bowed. Both of you are hit with the emotional jackhammer of despair, sorrow, and just pure defeat. As you'll see tears coming down his face, like hitting the floor, mixing with the blood in his clothes already.
Dallas will feel like she's been punched in the stomach, and I think I'm gonna roll Dallas's willpower on this, put it in an 8.
10 Point immediately starts leaking a torrent of tears. She just straight channels it. There's no resistance.
Dallas definitely she kind of like shrinks away because this is not a sensation she's used to. She's not used to an outside force. getting into her head and sort of making her feel ways. So she takes a moment to kind of settle. And like she did on the beach, she begins to start welling up, and she'll just kind of let out a sigh. Aiden, who is she?
There will be a long ass silence. I mean, for what? About Jesus, about give or take 5 minutes.
10 point will in that time have wrapped him up, setting her brow to his temple. She doesn't really have the antlers per se for the moment. She's got like some stuff budding up out of her hair, but nothing close to where they should be.
That's my first wife.
Dallas lets out a sigh. And the political marriage is keeping you from her.
I can't. Because I'm bound by my oath to spirit. I can't look at her. I can't touch her. I can't. And she's dying on me. And I can't be there for my wife. He stops and bows his head, and through the pack link you will get the impression that this is the only woman Aiden has ever loved. Ever. Because he can't admit it, because he's afraid to admit it, because he doesn't know what will happen if he says it out loud.
I don't know. I don't know how to help you. What can I do? What can we do? And she'll kind of gesture to 10 point.
Yeah, 10 point is still definitely a raw factor in the link as well. And yeah, she's putting up 0 defenses against it, and it's still just... She's not ugly crying because that's taking it too far, but she's still just shedding a constant stream of tears. A burden shared is a burden lightened, Raya.
That's the reason he gestures down to himself, so I wouldn't have the strength to run to her. So I keep my vow.
Dallas will swallow hard. I don't know. Spirits, they don't make a lot of sense to me.
His vow to the kin was made. Affront the sept, and affront her ancestors. Affront the stag. Affront the sept totems. They all witnessed. And it has become a geas. To violate his vows.
Well played, Von Everett. Newton just says bitterly.
Incurs the wrath of the spirits. I'm sorry, Raya.
It's fine. People like me don't deserve that.
It was as much my fault, Raya. I invited all those spirits to share in it, to bless it, but not this. I didn't know about this.
Okay. I'm a spend willpower.
Shit, are you rolling rage?
Yep.
You darn tootin' he is.
Good thing I did.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Dallas feels it. That despair of sadness, 10 point feels it too. It's always there. But I mean, it's almost like when you strike a match on gasoline. I mean, it comes up. Like Aiden visibly just his eyes glare like that dark glare. Like the bottle breaks in his hand as well.
She has the good sense, at least, to retract at any point from where she's touching him. She doesn't move any further back than that because she doesn't want to give the impression of fleeing. But she stops touching him and drops her eyes to her knees again.
You did this?
Not the right Raya. I didn't know. There was no word of it, even to the Thairges, even to your Thairge. But I did invite the spirits, Raya.
Is there any way to fix this?
I don't know that I can unweave the right Raya,
Maybe not.
but I can stand between you and the spirits to the best of my ability.
Those born to the bloodlines that we are. We have the passions that we do because of Stag. Right? And she'll look over at 10 Point.
Felix told me that was impossible to preach to Stag. I offered my own passions. Everything that makes me who I am as payment just to spend that time with her till she died. And that was not good enough.
I stand higher in Stag's eyes, Raya.
Doesn't matter. Nothing I do is good enough. And I mean, if Dallas stops him, that hand hits 10 Point's throat.
Dallas. 10 Point's at Omega, so she doesn't stop him.
Yeah, for what it's worth, she flinches, but she doesn't even jerk back. The hand comes out.
And I mean, she's pushed, slammed into the wall. I'll just roll a bit of strength damage. Nothing crazy. Nothing fucking maniacal. From my Hamid strength. Just 2 bashing. Just because he is doing this with quite some force.
All right. Let me flick back over to my first page. And none of it is soaked. She gets slammed back against the wall hard enough to crack her head pretty decently. And even then, like, the reflexive hand comes up to go around the wrist holding her throat, but she's not actually making any attempt to remove it.
Oh yeah, he
Actually,
lifts her up. He lifts her up.
Dallas is actually going to grab a hold of 10 Point's wrist at this point.
And yeah, she is hefted off of her feet with Dallas pulling her hand away. And they'll feel a flood of complete acceptance and guilt.
And he'll look at her, and I mean, both of you can see that hatred, rage, bitterness, self-hatred actually is the big thing you feel as all if you're hit by another emotional jackhammer. I gave my everything for this pack. And this is what I get.
And she does make some attempt to offer an answer, but as you might guess, it's just kind of a strangled gasping noise.
This is what I have in my lot in life. Was it all part of a plan, 10 Point? And, you know, you can tell by the way he's squeezing, he's not looking for an answer, almost, if you get me.
Why would she plan against you, Roy? She's part of this pack.
She'd do anything for Balian and Banshee.
We'll feel a shock of protest. Wordless, but there. The hand that Dallas is restraining kind of gives a bit of a jerk before the other one comes up. Resting on his wrist and not trying at any point to pull him away, but trying to remove just a little bit of the weight. It's kind of a pitiful attempt. She really doesn't have the strength to heft her own weight up in Hamid. She can't get enough air to answer. So she will continue to make just kind of a strangled sound of weak protest.
Doesn't make any sense. What would she... Why?
Because they wanted connections into the Fianna world. Von Ivericks are a very powerful family. Connections to the Ardrai himself. This marriage signifies an alliance. And doors opened, especially for Balian, of House Kraus and House Gleemanai, to rebuild a fallen house. And they do anything to secure that. Only we made a deal with the devil himself. Didn't we, 10 Point? And that squeeze. Yeah, I'm going to roll some strength. Yeah, 2 again. As the squeeze tightens.
Dallas is going to kind of... Because Vinny doesn't have context for this. So Dallas is going to sort of push through sort of a direct link to Aiden to try and puzzle out what he means. And if you wouldn't mind, in layman's terms, explaining it to Vinny.
Basically, Balian is from House Gleaming Eye, which is all but eradicated. And Balian is trying to rebuild his house. The Von Ivericks are very influential members of the Fianna tribe, who have a connections to the Ardri, who's basically the High King of the Fianna.
Mhm.
This marriage that Aiden has just did and Banshee is doing opens doors for them, but also opens doors for Balian to start rebuilding his house.
Note that while it's not on his overlay, it is Aiden Lynch Krause. He has been adopted into his house.
Yes.
So if she pushes in a bit more and she tries to see that if it was like 10 Point who set this up, what does she get?
Oh, she's pushing at 10 Point. 10 Point's an open book. And she's not... The only thing keeping her from offering protest through the pack link is the fact that that stranglehold makes it very clear that he doesn't want answers. But she can hunt after it. And she can see that there is... While there is a massive ton of guilt and an echoing self-hatred, there is no ill intent there. There is no... The guilt is overwhelming, but it's not seated in the knowledge of doing an ill deed.
But she did help bring this marriage about.
Oh, yeah.
And Dallas is going to sort of project to just 10 Point. Did you know about Darcy when you were arranging this?
And admittedly, she's gasping for breath still and kind of struggling, so the answer takes a little more effort. Not when he promised to Von Everett. It wasn't until after.
Oh.
And she did take 1 point of bashing and did manage to like squeak out just enough breath to shrill a whine, but still isn't actually trying to get him off of her. She's not putting up an earnest struggle.
Because Dallas likes 10 Point a lot. But she loves Aiden.
Of course. Do it.
On an out of character perspective, Katie, I hate you.
Do it.
Dallas, just upon you just get this whole sense of revulsion. You should have done you knew when you found out, you didn't try and stop it. You brought the spirits into this, and now you're preventing. Look at the suffering you got. That sort of it's on a repeat, on a loop.
Yeah, and I assume it's not necessarily verbal. It's just an emotional assault.
Yeah, and Dallas, as much as I hate to do it, Dallas starts punching 10 Point in the stomach over and over and over again. I don't know if you want me to roll for it or just do this as a cinematic thing.
Either way. I imagine she's going to do it until 10 Point starts dribbling blood out of her mouth.
Yeah, she'll do it until we'll say she gets right on that cusp of that 7th point of damage, but stops shy of that.
At which point the hand on Aiden's wrist is barely even holding itself up, much less offering any resistance. She's just kind of dangling and gasping. You can only imagine the level of internal damage that's been done.
Dallas will just look over at Aiden. Let me deal with her, Raya.
All the while, he just stared right into 10 Point's eyes, locked, ice cold stare.
Oh, there have been ample yelps, strangled cries. But she, even even on the cusp of like straight passing out between the damage and the stranglehold. Has her eyes just barely open.
He lets go, and I'm assuming she's to the floor.
She does. Yep. She collapses.
Dallas
In the
looked
end,
over.
in the end, you can't blame a Metis for doing what she was supposed to do. Do you think she was really going to disobey Banshee?
There's another pulse of wordless protest, though she just kind of curls up and is knitting.
I'm not saying she did this deliberately. I'm saying she did what any loyal packmate would do. Protect the pack.
Dallas is
She
like
knew.
shaking her head.
She knew what conflict this would cause. And I'm the one who has to pay the price for it, and I'll pay that price.
You shouldn't have to.
It's my job. I'm a Fianna, Dallas. This is the this is the life we live. This is what we do till we fight. We fight like this till we die. And I'll do my fucking duty, as always. And I'll get rocks thrown at me, spat at me, told I'm horrible and I'm a disgrace. But I'll do my fucking job. And if that means, and he'll, again, fists will clench, and all, again, both of you are hit with the emotional jackhammer of sadness, I'm calling it. Even if it costs me the one thing I've wanted all my life.
Template is weakly in motion, and as she's been knitting, has just collected herself back up onto her knees, bowed over.
Dallas doesn't really have the words because she's just not that person. She's frustrated, she's angry, but overall she's hurting. And when she takes her foot and does sort of like a donkey kick in 10 points direction,
Mm-hmm. I'm assuming from the side to like spill her over again.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's hard, it's forceful, it's meant to do damage, but there is that hint over the pack link that it's one of those things I don't want to, but I have to. Because otherwise she's going to feel helpless, and a helpless get is not a get at all.
No, she takes it. She spills over. And as soon as, if nothing follows, we'll just start to crawl our way back up into the kneel again. And once her throat is mended enough to speak. Raya, let me explain myself.
Do it quickly.
You were so fearful of judgment and so fearful of being seen as dishonest or being found out. I thought that with the spirits to witness and to partake in the ceremony, Von Everett could never doubt your intentions. Please, Raya, I never would have done this if I'd known about the rite they meant to enact, if I'd known what it would have meant.
In the end, you played right. We played right into his hands.
I know that
Didn't
now,
we?
Raya.
And is there any way for us to ever get something back off him for what he's taken from me?
And she falls quiet and some of the emotional static dies down as she sets to earnestly thinking on this.
Dallas sort of rests her hand on Aiden's like collarbone. If we have to burn down their entire fucking house to make sure that you get what you're due.
I'll keep my wife. I'll give her what she needs and I'll have a child and I'll do what I need to do. And spirits be damned when that girl dies. I'll be there. They can judge me for whatever I am, but I will be there when I know she's about to die. I made an oath, and the spirits recognize that at least. He looks down at 10 Point.
When that day comes, anything, anyone that comes for you will have to go through me.
Right now, he looks down at 10. I mean, like the stairs intense, mixed with all that. And again, his walls are gone. You know, it's just sadness, depression, all this, but a lot of rage and that burning darkness of vengeance in him that 10 Point has felt before, but not Dallas. This is new. This is a very dark, like almost this like. But the best thing I just can describe that as like tentacly wrapping around the pit of your stomach, and you get images of a guy shooting someone who looks like Aiden and a very young Aiden watching, and you're just hit with a visual assault, basically. I will make sure that whatever his name, Emir, or whatever the fuck he is, the last thing he'll see of his family line is Kraus. Aiden Lynch fucking Kraus. Destroying the legacy he built and building my own. If it's the last thing I do before I die. For what he's took from me.
Dallas just nods.
He'll look down at 10 Point.
I will stand between you and anything that tries to stop you, Raya. And I'll
Even
serve
if
you
that-
loyally.
And he speaks directly to the two of you, locking away from like the Packlink common area. Even if that means our Alpha and our Beta are in our way.
It's almost an immediate reaction for Dallas. It's just a complete resolute affirmative.
He'll look at 10 Point very seriously. Even if one day they end up in my way.
You are my Raya.
Good.
And he can feel that saying it flat out when he puts it that plainly, like it quakes to her fucking core. But she says it. She says it earnestly.
One day it'll happen and I'll make my move. And then we'll see. They'll all see what happens when you give Aiden Lynch Krause the opportunity for revenge.
I will not stand in your way, Raya.
Dallas will just gonna reach down and pull 10 Point up by her hair, roughly.
Yep. Suddenly 10 Point is upright.
And she will reach into the swag. She saw her put the knife there.
Mm-hmm.
And she'll pull it out. It's
She'll
not
even
like she's
make sure
taking it.
it's willed in such a way that it is right on top.
And she'll only pull the blade out, not the scabbard, because she's not, revoking the blade from 10 Point. If it's the same blade.
Mhm.
And she will take 10 Point's hand, and she'll place the blade on 10 Point's palm, You're going to swear to us both.
And she
She'll
casts a
look.
glance to Aiden,
He'll nod.
and
Yes.
she willingly holds her palm open.
And Dallas at this point is, her voice is trembling and her eyes are just dripping with tears. We're going to swear to each other on this. That whatever it takes, we make this happen. And she'll drag the blade across 10-Point's hand. And
Even the flinch is minimal.
And she'll do the same to her own. And then she'll look over at Aiden.
And he'll do it, putting himself at 4 lethal. Jesus Christ.
And from an organizational standpoint, I don't know how this is going to happen, but more or less, she'll work their hands into sort of a trifold grasp. It's very unsanitary what they're doing.
Now you all have cooties.
These are cooties she can have.
Yeah. 10-Point willingly slips her hand into this grasp. And she will pointedly, again, seek out Aiden's eyes.
He'll lock eyes with her as his blood trickles over there.
Yep. And says simply, and more firmly this time, "You are my Raya."
Dallas will look over at 10-Point and then look back at Aiden.
We'll start with Saoirse. Build. This will happen. From now on, our motive is to build up, both in get contacts, Fianna, and we build. And then we take them down brick by brick.
What is the mental image coming with the them?
The Von Everett family. Literally the entire family.
Jesus.
If we're going to do this, Raya, everyone involved is going to have to be ready.
They'll be ready. We rebuild the Kraus line, except there's going to be a new twist to it. Lynch, Kraus. If I have my way.
It's the only way. And Dallas will just simply look over at 10-Point.
Oh, it will prompt you to do a P&A.
P&A? Oh my.
You could both do it. It's crazy.
Right,
And it'll be something, it'll be site-based, but it'll be fairly minute. It'll be subtle.
The gasp.
La gasp.
Two successes.
I don't see it. I'm too busy being vengeful.
You are. But yeah, especially with the fucking 9. Yeah, she turns and she looks at 10-Point, and she probably doesn't know the connotations yet. But she'll realize that it's very subtle. It's not full body, but she's straight trembling.
Once Dallas kind of pulls her hand away, she'll She'll just kind of lean over, put one arm around 10 points, like head and neck, and she'll just very softly say into 10 points' ear, "Easy on Moira."
And she will actually relax a bit, almost involuntarily. There is a fleeting glimpse. It's almost like it's that whole like you feel like you saw a series of things happen, but it was a split second, so it's hard to even process.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you can hear like the crack of leather, and you see just the disappointed scowl. Balian's others. But Balian's is the face that comes first.
Her being beat.
Yeah. It's not reliving the entire experience. It's just kind of like an abrupt series of flashes.
Dallas will simply squeeze 10 point harder, and just over that link between the two of them, there's this sensation that sort of, if you were to put it into an imagery, 10 point standing there by herself, and then a orange furred arm coming around her, sort of signifying that Dallas is now at that point where she will kill anyone who tries to do harm to 10 point.
And yeah, I imagine Aiden would catch it too, since, I mean, it took a verbal prompt to do it, but there was a brief series of flashes, and at this point, she's finally relaxing from very tense posture. He didn't catch the trembling, but she's been tense.
He will cup 10 points face, so she locks right into Aiden Lynch's eyes, and she will get the mental images of Aiden actually beating someone to death for wronging 10 point.
And between the two of them, the wash of relief is real enough that she almost slacks out to the point of losing her feet.
We'll give Balian what he wants and rebuild a house. But it'll be on our terms from now on. And when the time comes, it'll be me challenging for Alpha, not him.
Shit.
I'm loyal to Banshee, but when I see her leadership fail, I won't hesitate. Do you understand? He looks to both of you.
Yes, Raya. Thank you, Raya. And the latter is obviously directed to both of them.
Yeah. Dallas's reaction is immediate, and Aiden and 10 point both are going to get this feeling that it didn't really matter. What was said. For Dallas, it's just already a foregone conclusion as far as where her loyalty is going to lie in this situation. And I guess since we're all on the feels train, Aiden's just going to get the sensation that, he's the brother that she's always wanted. And 10 point's going to get the same thing, only in the other direction. Even though she is a dirty, filthy menace.
give a squeeze to Dallas's shoulder, and she will feel. Actually, to be honest, Dallas will see Aiden burying his mother and burying his sister, and he will feel Dallas fills that role. And for 10 point, well, she gets a very special. She is practically actually she can actually get the visual image of her and his sister standing beside each other, and that's the way Aiden sees her as. Despite her being Metis, but she knows Aiden's feelings about that.
I'm not even rolling if you're both going to hit her with feels. Jesus. Yeah, she finally loses her fate. Flat out.
Dallas isn't going to let her fall.
Oh, Aiden keeps hold of her.
There will be a momentary kind of struggle to convince her knees that they are, in fact, meant to hold her legs in particular positions. But yeah, it's just, there is a flood of just deeply grateful, deeply humble thanks, relief. Almost to the point of like hitting her as bad as shock would, really. It's really crazy to get handed what you want twice over, all at once.
Dallas just kind of pulls her in towards herself and Aiden.
Yeah, he'll look at the three of them. Odd. And to be honest, he just wearily, actually, to be honest, he just sits down and wearily just lies down exhausted.
Dallas will go to. Does she have a room at the cabin at this point?
I assume so.
I don't know. I'm going to go to her room and grab a pillow and a blanket and sort of set Aiden up for the night.
Yeah, I mean, he's asleep within minutes. He's asleep within minutes. The poor guy, I think, has been through a lot. He's exhausted.
And Dallas will lead 10 point back to her room and set 10 point up in her bed.
There will be several comical kinds of pauses as she's fairly torn on walking away from Aiden and doubly torn in being pointed at Araya's bed. But yeah, in the wake of all this, I'm not sure she really has the gumption to throw into protesting with any real oomph behind it. So at worst, she hesitates and gets boomed into the bed.
Not forcefully, but yeah, there's a little bit of a boop.
Yeah, a little nudge. That's all it takes, really. And is Aiden out cold enough that she's not going to,
He's just gone, fast asleep.
well, as long as it's restful sleep, at least for the moment, she'll finally be able to settle in. And what does Dallas do with herself?
Dallas will, as she she waits for them both to be sound asleep, and she's going to first over 10 point, she'll lean down and kiss the side of her face, and she'll say something in German, and then she will go out to Aiden, do the same to him. And she will, as she goes to the front door of the cabin, she will look back at them with, look back in the direction of the interior of the cabin because she can't see 10 Point at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But, she just says in German, I'm home. And then she will shut the door behind her.
I think that is probably... What are you rolling? Watching you.
I was getting the end scene thing ready. Jesus, Katie.
Paranoid. Very well. No, that is the perfect moment then to say thank you, players, for playing, watchers for watching. We'll see you next time on the Living World of Darkness, Rage Across New York.